So in this video, I'm gonna be talking about my jetty fishing gear for 2021 for those big bull redfish and jack crevalle. Now I've made very detailed, in-depth videos in the past covering everything, but this video is gonna be focused more so on the basic essential gear that you're gonna need out there to target these fish. The first half of this video, I'm gonna be very quick. I'm just gonna show you guys what I use, quick explanation on why I use it, and then at the very end, I'm gonna show you guys the knots I use. All right. Cold front hitting, starting to rain. So to start out on the jetty, you're gonna want a long rod so you can cast your lures out there. Most of the time it's really windy and there's quite a bit of surf, so you wanna get out past the rocks right on the edge. So what I use are 8-foot and 9-foot rods. One is a St. Croix Triumph and the other is a Penn Crevalle 8-foot. I've been using these rods for several years and they've worked great. Now I definitely prefer the 9-foot St. Croix because it has a little bit more backbone and I can horse those jacks and redfish in, where this 8-foot Penn rod flexes a lot more and I can't really control the fish as much as the St. Croix. Some other good rods I know of are the Penn Carnage and Penn Battalion. I don't personally use them, but I know people who use them and they work great. These are just the rods I use. Now the Penn rod is more of a budget setup. St. Croix is a little bit nicer. If you're just starting out, I would recommend getting a Penn Crevalle 9-foot or a Penn Battalion 9-foot. Those are low-cost rods that are honestly really good, and there's not much need to get a super expensive rod considering you're gonna be bashing it against the rocks on the jetty. At least I do. All right, next up, the reels I'm currently rocking are the Penn Slammer 5500 and the Penn Spinfisher 6500. Both are great reels and they do the trick of the jetty. They got plenty of drag and they're just built tough. I've definitely bashed them on the rocks, dropped them on the rocks, and they still work great. Now I did have an issue with my Penn Slammer here recently where it was kind of stripping on the gears and I realized these screws were kind of loosening up. All I had to do was tighten it and the gears set together after I tightened it and it works perfectly now. So those are the reels I recommend. Penn just makes really strong, durable gear, and out on the jetty, that's what you want. So I would recommend these. Next up, the lures I use at the jetty. I mainly only use 2 lures. There's tons of different kinds you can choose from. But to be very simple, if you're going out to target redfish and jack crevalle, this is pretty much the only lure you need right here. And that is gold and silver 2 and 3 ounce spoons. These things do the trick. I would probably say there's almost nothing just as good as the spoon at the jetty for redfish and jacks because these things cut through the wind like no other lure. Obviously they're the most aerodynamic. You can cast them farther than pretty much everything, and they sink the fastest when you're targeting those redfish. So very versatile lure. Most of the time you want to throw gold when the water is dirtier and silver when it's clear. That's just what I've heard, but I've caught fish on both of them. Big redfish, big jacks. I've even caught a big kingfish on a spoon as well. The next lure I like to throw when those jacks are getting more picky are big swim baits. This is a 6-inch tsunami swim shad. They come in all different kinds of colors and patterns. Whatever you can find will work. These are the blackback, but I've caught them on literally everything. So these I really like whenever I can see those jacks on the rocks and I want to pitch it out there and keep that lure high in the water column. Sometimes the reds will school up high as well, and if they're doing that, a swim bait will be better than a spoon because that spoon's just going to sink super fast. But yeah, if you're only going to take out 2 lures to the jetties, I would recommend none other than the 2 or 3 ounce spoon and swim baits. I'm gonna link these lures down in the description box as well if you wanna go check them out. They are Amazon affiliate links, so I'll get a small commission if you do make a purchase. So yeah, these are pretty much the only lures I throw at the jetty. I see other guys throw a variety of things. Bucktails are pretty popular, different kinds of swim baits. There's so many brands that make swim baits like this. I tried several the other day when we were fishing for jacks and they all work. One thing you wanna look for is a sturdy, stout hook. These tsunamis have done pretty good for me. I've tried the Storm swim baits and I've been able to catch some jacks, but I have had those hooks bend out if you have that drag cinched down pretty tight. So that pretty much covers the basic gear for the jetty. We went over the rod, we went over the reel and the lures. Next up, I'm gonna cover the terminal tackle, and it's pretty basic. You can't really see it now because my backpack got doused the other day on the jetty, but this is actually 50-pound Power Pro braid. For your spin reels, I would recommend 40 to 50 out on the jetty. I like Power Pro because it's thick enough to be resistant to those rocks, and it's just a good, robust braid, and it's done the trick for me. Next up, you're gonna want to use a leader out there when you're throwing these lures. There are tons of sharp, jagged rocks on the jetty, and if you don't have a leader, you're running straight braid or just light leader, you're gonna break off almost every time. Especially with those redfish, when they dive down, you're gonna want some heavy, thick mono. Now, I like to throw mono instead of fluoro. I've done my own testing, and Mono has just worked better as far as cut resistance and resistance to chafing on the rocks. And I like this 80-pound Andes. They do make leader material, which is great as well, but this stuff you can buy in bulk and it's pretty cheap. So I would say 60 to 80-pound mono. It really just depends on personal preference, but I have found that this 80-pound lands more fish than I break off on. So if you're gonna start out 40 to 50-pound braid and then a stout 80-pound leader. Other than that, the only other things I would recommend out on the jetty are a pair of long needle nose pliers. Those jacks and redfish will inhale your lure, so you're gonna want something to get in there and pull those hooks out. I would recommend getting a nice pair of titaniums. These are supposed to be titanium covered, but it obviously didn't really do too good. One last thing, if it's wet and windy, a pair of Dyneema or Kevlar gloves might help out a bunch. These are filthy, but I've actually sliced my finger open before trying to chunk spoons out against the wind whenever my hands were wet. Also, landing those big redfish and jacks can cut your hands up, so having a good pair of gloves will help a lot. Jacks have a really sharp keel fin, and then those redfish have pretty sharp gill plates. So these will really help you pull those reds and jacks up on the rocks when you're trying to get them up quick when those waves are crashing up. All you really need is one rod, one reel, maybe some extra leader material, and some lures. I typically bring probably 6 spoons out there and a pack of swim baits minimum. Some days you just break off a lot, so be prepared if you are going to go out and fish. So I hope y'all can see this pretty well. If you can't, refer back to my jetty fishing gear video from last year. I'll put the tag to the video up here in the top right, and skip to the end and I'll show all the knots I use. I'm pretty sure a lot of them, if not all of them, are the same as the ones I'm going to show you guys here. But yeah, without further ado, I'm going to show you guys the first knot. Okay, so to start, you're going to want to take about 2 to 3 feet of your 80-pound leader, snip it off from the spool, and then on one end, what I like to do is just start with a loop like this. And then you're going to want to run the tag through that loop not once, but twice. So that is going to make a figure 8. You can see it just like that. This is actually called the figure 8 knot. And what you're going to want to do is actually tilt it up to where it kind of looks like a boat shape, just like that. And then you're going to take your braided line and you're going to run it through. I'll show you. Run it through from under, going up, and then run it through going down. If you guys can't tell what I'm doing, like I said, go back and look at the other video. I used paracord so you can see it a little bit better. Yeah, basically do a figure 8, run it through, and then on this side, all you're going to do is a uni knot. So bring it down, loop it, and you're going to run it through 6 to 8 times. Might need to lube up the line a little bit, but then pull your tag, pull both ends. Don't cinch it all the way, just cinch it enough to where it will get kind of small like that. Pull it, but not all the way tight. And then once it goes down enough, cinch it all the way down. So I like this knot because it is a smaller profile than that uni to uni knot, and I can actually cast it through my eyes pretty well. Now I don't recommend casting through your eyes all the time because it can weaken your knot and beat it up, but if you are going to do it, this is a simple knot to do that with. Now all you got to do is trim those tag ends and you have your figure 8 to uni knot. Alright, now that we have that out of the way, we are ready to tie on our lure. And to start out, I'm going to show you guys how to rig up on the gold spoon. Now you can look at this thing and you can see that there is a split ring. Whenever your lures have a split ring, you can tie regular knots like a uni knot, fisherman's knot, and the knot I'm about to show you. So this one's super cool because it is so basic and it's just easy to tie. So watch this. Now you're only going to want to do this with heavy mono. I only tie it when I have like 50-pound and above, but it is really good for tying this thicker, stiffer line. So what you're going to want to do is run it through the split ring, pull it around, make a loop like that, and then run it through the split ring one more time. You're going to want to pinch it, pull it, so you have a loop here. Wrap it around up here over the main line. Pinch that. So now you can see we just ran that line through the split ring twice. Over the main line, and then loop it through. twice. Pull on the tag in, and it will cinch down. And that is your knot for the spoon. Super fast, simple, easy, and it works. All right, so this next knot is actually gonna be a loop knot, and it's for whenever you're tying to a lure with a fixed loop and no split ring, just like this swim bait. Now you can really tie this knot with anything. You can use it with the spoon as well, but you don't exactly have to have a loop knot for the spoon. Having a loop knot helps these lures with fixed anchor points by providing them with a little bit more maneuverability, where those lures with the split rings already have that added ability to move because they have that split ring wiggling right there. So you can kind of see that the lure has a little more room to play whenever it's just hanging on a loop, opposed to, say, just a straight line. All right, this knot is also insanely simple, and all you gotta do is add a loop in your line, pinch it, run your tag through just like you're doing an overhand knot, pull it down a little bit, and then you're gonna wanna run your tag in through the eye of your lure, run it down, and then run your tag back through the loop to where it matches up, to where it's going through the same way this side goes in. So you can kind of see right there. So once you do that, I like to pull my tag in, cinch the knot a little bit down to where it meets the eye, but don't cinch it all the way, kind of leave it like that. Once you're at this point, pinch it right here, take your tag, wrap it over and around your main line twice. Once you do that, start to kind of cinch it. Make sure your loop is not over the eye. Adjust the size of your loop as needed and cinch. Boom. All you gotta do is cut the tag and you are ready to go. That is my favorite loop knot for this heavy mono. It's never slipped and it is super strong compared to a lot of the other loop knots I've seen tied on YouTube. We've caught big tarpon with this knot, big jacks, big redfish, you name it, it holds. Well, that's pretty much it. Jetty fishing isn't too complicated. All you have to do is make sure you bring a knife to cut your line, some extra leader material, and some extra lures. That's really the game with the jetties, is fighting the snags and making sure you still got a lure to chunk out there. With that said, if you guys did find some value out of this video and enjoyed it, please drop a like down below. It helps my videos get pushed out by YouTube and it will promote them to people who are interested and maybe need some tips out there on the jetty. With that said, hopefully you guys have some luck out there. Those big jacks, those big redfish are there. You just gotta be rigged up right and ready to catch them. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, consider doing so down below as well. We do quite a bit of jetty fishing when it's good. We've been on some big jacks, some big redfish, and we're gonna be fishing for some more big giant fish here this spring and summer. So you guys stay tuned for that. I really appreciate the view. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and I'll catch y'all next time.